Good morning, good morning. We are about to start. Good morning. Good morning. I am Yolanda Green, and I serve as our Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce Chair this year for the 2021 season. And it's so great to see you this morning. Also serve as our Rutherford County Market President for First Horizon. So I am just ecstatic that you are here this morning and wanted to provide some comments on behalf of the Chamber. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you making the time to join us for a morning packed full of information on how you can tap into the new talent sources to fill your mission of critical job openings. As you're aware, in August, the employment rate in Rutherford County, Tennessee returned to the pre-pandemic level of 3.7%. Yet you as employers continue to tell Rutherford Works and our Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce that you struggle to find job openings that have never been greater. Local advertising for our July 2021 job fair, hosted by Rutherford Works at our Embassy Suites in Murfreesboro, resulted in 3 million advertising impressions. Not only 500 job seekers attended. The 134 employers who attended were trying to fill 5,000 job openings. So 134 employers were trying to fill 5,000 job openings. Is that resonating with you this morning? Different times call for a different way of approaching hiring challenges, and that's why we're here this morning. The We Grow Talent Summit is designed for you as employers to think differently about who and how you're hiring to fill job openings. Following our special guest speakers this morning, we invite you to attend one or more of the 12 breakout sessions led by subject matter experts participating employers who will help you understand how you can be successful in hiring high school students through work-based learning, hiring the justice involved, hiring those with all abilities, creating documented apprenticeships, and retaining talent and more. We have a very special guest this morning. It is none other than our governor, Governor Bill Lee. It is my pleasure to welcome our very special guest. Governor Lee is the 7th generation Tennessean and the 50th governor of Tennessee. Since becoming governor in 2019, Governor Lee has focused on several priorities, including quality education, economic development, public safety, and supporting families, all with a particular focus on the accelerated transformation of rural Tennessee. Under his leadership, Tennessee has strengthened career and technical training, been named the #1 best fiscal managed state in the country, the best business climate in our U.S., #1 in the nation for advancing industry job growth, and the best state for small business growth. It is because of Governor Lee's commitment to our continued economic growth, our great state, and you as employers that we invited him to kick off our event this morning. We are grateful that he's taken the time out of his busy schedule to speak with us this morning. Let's give Governor Lee a round of applause.
Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you all. Thanks, Rutherford Works, Chamber, Ms. TCAT, for putting this important summit together. And I wanted to stop by and, number one, thank you for being here, for being a part of it. The issue of workforce and workforce development and unemployment and employment, incredibly important to us right now in our state especially as we see significant economic growth here in Tennessee. Yesterday, let me just say we got 500,000 job openings in the state. You already heard about the challenges that we have getting folks to even show up for job fairs. We're doing 70 job fairs around the state. We are going to have to be creative and innovative in the way that we connect the unemployed with the opportunities that are in Tennessee, and then create a skilled up group of workers that will be able to fill the jobs that are coming. We've recruited into this state 22,000 jobs as of up until yesterday, and then we added 6,000 yesterday. We had a watershed moment in the state of Tennessee yesterday. I called Governor Alexander, former Governor Alexander, a few days ago, and I had a great, fascinating conversation with him about what it felt like 40 years ago when he got the call from Nissan that they were coming to Tennessee. And I said, you know, what happened 40 years ago began to build a foundation in this state that made Tennessee the leading automotive industry state in America. We're one of 2 states in the country that now, as of yesterday, have 4 OEMs in our state. We are producing electric vehicles in every one of those. We are, as Ford Motor Company put it yesterday, we are at Blue Oval City, the new facility out in West Tennessee. Ford believes that they're starting the second industrial revolution right here in Tennessee. We have opportunity like never before to provide opportunity for our people. As I went to a rural high school yesterday in Haywood County, where the Ford plant will be located. And by the way, that particular, the analysis of that decision yesterday, of that announcement yesterday, is that there will not be just 6,000 jobs associated with the Ford plant, but there will be 27,000 direct and indirect jobs associated with what happened yesterday. That is generational change and impact in a region where that has happened. You've seen that here. You can drive down this road and see this plant, see the economic development in this region, and you know what happens when you have a triggering effect like that. But I was in Haywood County High School yesterday in a CTE program that had received a Governor's Investment in Vocational Education grant, a GIVE grant. I was there with the director of the TCAT in Whiteville, Jackson now. So it was a TCAT, GIVE grant, high school industry partnership. And suddenly the industry that was about to partner with that rural county high school was going to transform the future of those children's lives. And I could see it all playing out right there in front of me. That's what's happening right here in this TCAT. That's what's happening in all across the state as we have the highest number of apprentices that we've ever had in our state because of a real push there. We have a real emphasis all the way down into the middle school level in our future workforce initiatives with STEM education in those middle schools. Our initial investment into GIVE grants, doubling that the second year, doubling again the third year. That kind of collaborative, intentional push to develop workforce is why Ford Motor Company said we could put this plant in any state in the country, but we believe that you have a strategy for workforce that's better than any other state. That's why what y'all are talking about today is so very important, because it is going to be very, very difficult and challenging to fill that demand for workforce in that particular region, just like it is in every one of our regions. But we can do it. And we know that we can do it. We can't do it, but you can do that. I know that we, in collaboration and working together, can do that. We have to do it in order for our economy to continue to move forward. So we have to be innovative and creative. I know there's going to be conversations today about how to hire creatively, how to consider potential workers that we may or may not have considered before, workers with disabilities, workers that are a part of the justice system. We have had a tremendous, I have a long history of working with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated, and it's part of what we worked so hard last year to get passed in the General Assembly, criminal justice reform that provides alternatives to incarceration, and it provides success in reentry in part by providing opportunities for those who have been incarcerated, or opportunities to those who will alternatively be given pathways other than incarceration. Very important work for us, and a tremendous source of workforce. Commissioner from our Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, Brad Turner, will be talking with you today as well about the way that we engage Tennesseans of all abilities to fill roles that uniquely they can fill. And I will say this too, when we consider hiring those with disabilities, we also consider the impact that it has on the rest of our workforce as they see and are inspired by those working alongside them that they might not have that experience with. So those are just a couple of examples of innovative, creative ways we have to enhance and increase the number of folks that we can employ. There's dignity in work. Work is good for the soul. As I told those young people in Haywood County yesterday, you just keep pursuing this path that you're pursuing with your skills. These were young people that were wiring they were in an industrial maintenance class, doing wiring and doing welding and doing technical work. And I said, you just keep skilling yourself up. They were 15 and 16 and 17 years old. And I said, what's about to happen in your county is you are going to have that opportunity. And if you will develop this skill, you can stay right here in your county. You can raise your family here. You can have a really great living for you and your family. And we want to create an environment. You will have to do that. You will have to stay committed to this path. You will have to work hard and gain your skills and, pursue post-secondary through a TCAT if that's the plan that you have. You have a lot of work to do here. But there is going to be an environment around you that will reward you for your efforts. And that will provide you a chance to live in the opportunity that you should have in this state. So we owe it to the next generation of Tennesseans. We owe it to those who are looking to capitalize on some of this opportunity that we have before us. We're one of the fastest economically. There are only 7 states in America that had positive economic returns between April 2020 and April 2021. Only 7. And Tennessee was one of them. We are one of the most moved to states in America. And there's a reason for that. People see opportunity. They move where they see opportunity. There's a reason that one of the largest global companies, historical global companies, made a decision to come here. There are very, very measurable reasons for that, because they see opportunity. What they see is the future of the automotive industry and the ability for this state and this workforce and these leaders, those of you in the private sector and those of you who are leading throughout, they see that we have the opportunity and the environment to give them that nobody else does. We should all be very proud of that, but it is an enormous challenge for us. I sat across the table from the COO of Ford and said, I guarantee you that we can deliver for you. You will be glad that you came to Tennessee. And I say that because I trust that we together are going to step up, be innovative, be creative, work with our educational system, partner private, nonprofit, public partnerships. Exactly what is happening right here in this TCAT and in this community. That's how we will make sure that not only Ford is glad they came here, but that one right after the other continue to come here. Thank you for your leadership, for what you're doing. Grateful to just say a few words to, as you can tell, I'm pretty fired up. I'm about as happy as I can be as governor. People's lives were changed this week by that announcement. It's not accolades or statistics, it's those kids in that high school, their lives and their children's lives and their children's children's lives will be changed because of economic opportunity that is given to them, and that's why I'm excited. That's why I'm excited about the future. So thank you for participating in it. Thank you.
So we are presenting Governor Lee with a little memorable gift to remember this moment, and this is part of changing those lives that you mentioned. So. I am pleased to welcome our next speaker, Commissioner Brad Turner, who was appointed to the Commissioner of Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities in January of 2019. Commissioner Turner is a Rutherford County resident and served as Rutherford County Commissioner prior to accepting his role with the state, so he's one of ours. In his role as Commissioner, Turner oversees services and support to children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities through the state's home and community-based waivers, Tennessee Early Intervention System, and Katie Beckett program. As the father of a daughter with an intellectual and developmental disability, he's very passionate about advocating alongside people with disabilities and their families. Let's welcome Commissioner Brad Turner.
Thank you. Well, good morning. It is certainly a privilege to be back in Smyrna. As she had just mentioned, this is my home. Been here not quite 20 years with my wife, Rebecca, and our daughter, Kinsley. And so anytime I get a chance to be in Rutherford County, Smyrna specifically, I certainly want to do that. I also want to take just a quick second to thank Senator Reeves and Senator Don White, who represent Rutherford County. They were here today, and they've been really strong advocates for our department and recognizing what we're trying to do with the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. And we have to have partners. As the governor just mentioned, it's very important for us to work together in creating new opportunities. You'll see that Carrie Berna from our department, who works inside our employment opportunity areas inside our department, is actually passing out just some very quick bullet points. Ashley Williams on the right of me is also passing those out. They're really just some very basic high-level perspectives around why it's important to give inclusive employment opportunities consideration inside your department or your areas of business, and working very closely with us. We certainly want to do that. So just to give you a very high-level history, really briefly, about Tennesseans with disabilities inside the state, we're less than 10 years removed from Tennesseans with disabilities actually being housed in institutions. There were families, there were parents that were told the best your child's ever going to do is be dropped off in a brick building and left there the rest of their life. My predecessor, in her infinite wisdom and recognizing how we needed to get more progressive, fought very hard to make sure that we closed down those institutions, and they were successfully closed down about 8 years ago inside Tennessee. And as a result of that, we started pivoting now to saying, what does tomorrow look like for Tennesseans with disabilities today? And big part of that was employment and opportunities to work in their community, live in their community, go to church in their community, build a relationship, all the things that you and I historically have taken for granted. Our population did not get the joy and the privilege to be able to experience that, and that's what they're able to start doing right now. And that's really why we're here today. So I wanted to say a very heartfelt thank you to the Chamber of Commerce here in Rutherford County for recognizing the talent pool that our population can provide to those that need it. You heard the governor just say we are way north of 250,000 job openings inside Tennessee. I would imagine if I did a poll in here that everybody could raise their hand to say, I know companies or my company is having a hard time filling gaps in employment, and that's why we're here today. It's hopefully to be able to tell that story a little bit better about why we have a full network of individuals with disabilities that are ready to go to work today. So as we speak right now inside our waiver system and the services that we provide, there's north of 4,000 people that could go to work tomorrow for your company. They've got different skill sets, they've got different interest levels, they've got different focuses that they want to participate in. But we want to work with you as partners. As the governor talked about the big Ford announcement yesterday, one of the things that we're going to start doing is working with Ford and challenging Ford around fully inclusive hiring. The governor talked about how important it is in criminal justice reform and outreach to minority communities and outreach to communities with Tennesseans with disabilities on getting them the opportunity to work, because there is dignity in a paycheck, and that creates those types of opportunities that you and I historically have taken for granted, but to build the generational change that we want to see inside Tennessee. So one of the things that we've done that I think is really important that a lot of folks in this room might not be aware of, but it's something that's really the first of its kind in the state, is last year with the working with the legislature, we created a program called Tennessee Believes. What Tennessee Believes is, it's a post-secondary education that will work with state universities, both public and private, across the state, in creating opportunities for Tennesseans with disabilities to actually go to college and receive either a degree or a certificate that's going to be the equivalent of the degree, as we're working very closely with the Tennessee Higher Education Commission in making sure that that is viewed in the same light as a college degree is. So historically what we've heard from companies, number one is, well, what do I do with an employee with a disability? What does that look like? How can I make sure that works? And there's a lot of built-in excuses about why it might not work in your industry, in your area that you live, in your company, in your market, your vertical that you're targeting. So what we're doing is working to start chipping away at those. So this was something we thought was incredibly important, was to give opportunities for these individuals to go to college, receive a degree, receive a certificate of completion that will be recognized in the same manner that a college degree is, where when businesses are looking to recruit, they start seeing these certificates of completion, these degrees, and recognize that that's the equivalent of what a college degree is for a Tennessean with disability. Because we recognize that there are complex challenges sometimes in our circumstances, but what we don't want to do is see our population stigmatized and say, well, that's not a real degree, that's just something else. It's very much a real degree, and I appreciate the Tennessee Higher Education Commission and all of the state universities working with us to recognize that there's a need for these types of programs. So what are the advantages of hiring individuals with disabilities? There's several of them, so I'm just going to kind of touch on very high-level things right now, but retention rates. I can't drive that point home enough that historically the data has shared with us that if you hire an individual with disabilities, you're going to see better retention rates, you're going to see better attendance policies, you're going to see less truancy, and you're going to see just as much, if not more, active engagement in their work and making sure that they're committed to seeing the job being done, which is something that we're very proud of. So as you've done that, one of the huge things that obviously you work as, inside business is figuring out how do we lower costs. Well, that's a big way to lower costs right there, is because it reduces your retention rates. It lessens the number of hours and the manpower, the dollars that you've got to spend on training someone that's going to be a new hire. So not only is there a benefit for the individual that's coming in and your actual corporate culture, there's a dollar benefit there for the businesses and lower retention dollars that you have to spend to keep people lower training dollars that you have to spend, and there's a commitment that when you do invest in a person with disabilities, you have a better chance on that ROI of being a long-term ROI instead of a short-term ROI. So a disability inclusive workforce, it really enriches company culture, the community experience. We did a survey that said 87% of customers, when they know that a business hires individuals with disabilities, become repeat customers. 87%. You know, where you're talking about a competitive marketplace, competitive industries, I think people that work in business recognize that if 87% of my customers keep coming back because I've done something right and now I'm hiring, that's a pretty good reason to not only keep doing it, but if you're not doing it, to start doing it. And 92% of these customers are also going to keep coming back there, but more importantly, they're going to continue to look and figure out ways to serve that community with those individuals, but also identify other businesses that have the same sort of hiring processes in place for, I know where you're going. Okay, I was going to swap, but I saw a couple people looking at me like we're going in and out, but that's perfect. Can you guys hear me okay? Excellent, thank you. So creating an inclusive workplace. A big question that we get from businesses generated around legitimate concern is, well, how expensive is it going to be to hire somebody that might have visual impairments, hearing impairments, mobility challenges? A lot of what we looked at said it's really not that expensive at all for you to make a job accommodation. In fact, that a one-time expense more often than not is less than $500. If you go back to what I just shared about 2 minutes ago, when you think about making that one-time investment of $500 compared to having to keep rehiring, retraining, reinvesting money into people that might have left the business and come back in that don't have disabilities, I think $500 is a pretty reasonable investment in your company. Not only to tell the individual, hey, you have value here and we want to make sure that you're comfortable, but it also sends a corporate message to your company that this is part of our culture. That's the other thing that's been really important for us, is where we've seen a lot of good traction inside healthcare, inside marketing, inside business development companies, is leadership has to take an active role in saying this is part of our culture. This is not something that we're doing just to check a box. This is something that we're doing to change a life. And because we believe in that, we're going to invest in that. We're going to create programs that deliver on that. We're going to work with leadership around our company to make sure that they understand this is something that's very important to us. And as we've had these big conversations, not just statewide, but nationally around equity, around diversity, around investment in marginalized communities, our population historically has been one of those that's been one of the last to actually be welcomed to the table. Now, one of the things that I go around the state talking about is diversity is having a seat at the table, inclusion is having a voice at the table, but belonging is actually having that voice heard. And as these conversations are happening on a nationwide scale, all we're asking for is, hey, let us have a seat at the table and actually listen to what our folks are talking about and recognizing the value that they bring creatively to your corporate culture, but individually that they bring to the teams that they're going to be assigned to and the folks that are going to be working around them. Employees report a return on their investment. So each $1 that historically has been spent on reasonable accommodations can return $10 to $35 back in benefits, whether that's retention, some of the things that I just talked about. It really is an incredible investment in your culture. And we talk a lot about, well, how do I do this? How do I make my company more attractive to employees? You know, as you started hiring a younger generation, a lot of this younger generation is really focused on social causes. What are you doing to help underserved communities? What are you doing to create opportunities for minority communities? The governor talked about that, those that are coming out of being incarcerated. How are we creating opportunities for second chances? Many of our population have never been to a job interview. Just historically, that's just not been on the radar to say, well, we're going to tap into this untapped talent pool. They've just been forgotten and they've been put into institutions. We want to keep tearing those walls down to allow our population to have those types of opportunities that you and I have taken for granted. We have a full team. Carrie Barnett, Carrie, can you raise your hand? Back there is going to be part of a breakout session this afternoon. We have a full team that we've created and developed inside our department to make sure that we help companies, because the last thing that we want to do for you is just say, you've got to hire someone with a disability, you have to hire someone that we're partnered with, and then we're just going to kind of leave you alone and let you figure out to do that, because we know that there's an overwhelming angst that comes with that sometimes. Carrie and her team have a full program that creates job coaching opportunities, that creates hand-holding sessions as necessary. And we also know when to pull back from companies to say, let the individual actually be themselves and work. So I want you guys to be able to make sure that you know who Carrie is. Her contact information is listed here. We have videos that we produce around employment. We have team members, as I just said. We're working very closely with the Department of Labor. The governor is fully invested in making sure that we hire Tennesseans with disabilities. You know, a lot of people ask me that question, both publicly and privately, is, well, what does the governor know about this? What is the governor doing about this? He has pushed me very directly to say, make sure that we are reaching those and hearing from both the unheard and seeing the unseen all across the state of Tennessee. And we talked about that program yesterday in Ford investing in Tennessee. We have several provider agencies that were within driving distance of that new investment in Ford that's going to change the lives of Tennesseans with disabilities. You know, and as we've spent both your hard-earned taxpayer dollars and federal dollars and state dollars in supporting people, we want to make sure that people have the opportunity to move away from those services if it's something that they don't want to do or they want to start living independently. We've got a full division in my department that does enabling technology, allowing people to live independently. That technology can come with them to your company, to your organization, if they need help in communicating or if they need assistance in certain things. We're going to make sure that we provide those resources to you. But at the end of the day, for me, you know, you had mentioned it in the bio. I am the father of a child with disabilities. And I know there are others in this room that when I say, if you know someone with a disability that's changed your life, everybody in here can raise their hand and say, my life is better because I know John Doe, Jane Doe, whoever that might be. Employment is really the final frontier for us in making sure that we get there. About 20 years ago, Tennessee had created an employment-first culture, meaning at the end game for those with disabilities is going to be finding employment, and not just finding employment historically in areas that you've seen our population working in, hospitality, a bagger at a grocery store, a greeter at the Walmart. We want to challenge companies, and companies are answering that challenge to figure out creative ways to have white-collar jobs, blue-collar jobs, but opportunities for diversity in how they choose employment. Because, you know, as I just said, our folks traditionally have just been routed down one lane. Imagine for all of us, I don't think there's anybody in here that's probably had the same job for their entire life since they were a teenager. Because you found that you're interested in different things, you found that you might have a passion in different things. That's what our population is trying to do. So we are happy to try to support you in whatever that might look like. I want to challenge you to think about that when you're talking about diversity, inclusion, and promoting yourself as a diverse company. Is the umbrella really covering folks with disabilities too? Are there programs that you have in your company that are reaching out to those that want to work for the first time in their lives? And that's what we want to do. So again, I just want to say thank you for letting me come here and kind of speak a little bit about it. I am very passionate about this. I am very excited about what we're doing inside Tennessee. Tennessee has actually become a model across the country for how we deliver services for individuals with disabilities. A huge part of that is built around employment. So if you do have any questions, if you do have any comments, Carrie, my entire team's here, I'm here. We have email addresses listed, our website's listed. Please don't hesitate to reach out to you because we're excited about this and we know that there's a lot of job openings and a lot of companies that are looking for talent. We just want to be sitting at the table when you're interviewing people and saying, hey, that's what we want for my company too. So thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again. I think this is on. There we go. Thank you again to Commissioner Turner for allowing those comments that are so very powerful. To close out this segment of our time this morning, I'd like to invite Paul Latour, President of our Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce, to share some exciting news about Rutherford Works to provide logistics for the 12 breakout sessions that we have waiting for you for the remainder of the morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Yolanda. Well, good morning, and what a great morning it has been, and I want to also thank each of you for being here today, and I think it's important to know that we all want the same thing, and we all know that one of our top concerns is filling jobs, and so hopefully together we can come to some solutions to do that. I do want to just take a few minutes this morning before we dismiss for the breakout session to share, as Yolanda said, some exciting news about Rutherford Works. For the last several months, we have been working on the development of a new Rutherford Works website, and I want to thank Essence Briscoe for all her hard work. She's actually the one been working on it. I shouldn't say we, she has been working on it, so thank you, Essence. So the new site really is going to be ready to launch here in the coming weeks, and as I mentioned, it's been a year-long effort, but we're very excited, and wanted to also use this forum to share the new Rutherford Works branding and logo with you. And the new logo represents forward movement of the people in the county, resulting in measurable success for all. The new website features a new user-friendly design that can be used by visitors ranging from site selectors, high school students, and employers. On the workforce development side, the site will feature several things, including tools and resources for employers looking to connect with job seekers and to start long-term talent development strategies. It also will have information about our local high-demand jobs. In addition, skilled students and job seekers need for open positions for the in-demand industries, resources for high school students and parents deciding on career paths and college choices. Also, resources for job seekers looking for information on local jobs and industries, and then lastly, data, visuals, and video about the workforce and the economic environment in Rutherford County. So please be on the lookout for that. We are very excited, and we look forward to launching that, as I mentioned, here in the coming weeks. There's always change that goes on in our lives and also in our workplace, and I want to mention just a few things that are changing at the Chamber in our Rutherford Works area. And first and foremost, I want to welcome our new talent development director, Caitlin Salyer. Caitlin, where are you? She's outside. Great. But she joined our team back in September, this month, September 20th. She comes to us from the Cookville Chamber of Commerce, where she did workforce development there and education, and so we are very excited to have her add to our team. Also, I want to introduce someone who is a familiar face here with us, who will be replacing Beth, who's on to our next job is our new Senior Vice President of Education and Workforce Development, Greg Jones. Greg, would you stand up and just wave at everybody? Greg may look familiar. Does it work? Yeah. Greg looks familiar because he used to be in this building. Check. Greg, many of you may know Greg at his time. He spent several years, about 28 years, not just several, 28 years with Nissan North America, where he worked in all types of different roles. His most recent role at Nissan was a Senior Director of Human Resources and business partner for all the manufacturing here in Tennessee as well as Mississippi. So we are excited to have Greg here. He's a homegrown guy from school here, raised his family here, so we are very fortunate to have him come on our team as we move forward. And then there's Beth. Where's Beth? She outside too? Come on, get around and applause for Beth. This is Beth last week with the Chamber. She's been with us. Beth, I don't know how long, 8 years, I think you said it was. But I wanted to thank you from the very publicly for the outstanding job that you have done for our organization, for our county, as well as our state. I told her when she first came, I'll leave you alone, but I just want the #1 economic and workforce development program in the country, and I think we've done that with national recognition. And one of the things that you can always say is that, did you leave the place better than when you found it? I can definitely say that, Beth, you have. We wish you luck. Thank you so much, and look forward to working with you with your new role with the State Department of Labor. So thank you very much. That concludes my comments. I'll turn it back to you.
and we will get ready to go. Thank you again for being here.